The way to win the war isn't to fight. That just takes you further into battle. The way to win this war is to surrender, because when you surrender, that's where you really open yourself up, and that's when you're able to let go of all the shame you've been carrying. You're able to let go of all that anger that's been building up inside. Welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews, with a new co-host on this episode, Arthur Magoo. So Arthur is the head coach within the Powerful Man movement. He's a phenomenal guy. And I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit, Arthur. So Arthur, give the listeners, the men, the women, a quick rundown of yourself.
Wow. Well, hello, everyone. It's really awesome to be here on this podcast with the man, Tim. Wow, where do I start? Well, I've been with the Powerful Man since November as head coach, having gone through the program myself, the activation method, the Alpha Reset, and that's made a huge impact on my life, which has obviously led me to be here now working with the guys and part of the Powerful Man. I've had an interesting career over the last 20 years, 25 years. I started my life off from a career perspective as an engineer, electrical engineer, working for some blue chip companies on the corporate ladder, moving up there, really good years. Then I decided I want to work for myself. I left that, went into property, did fairly well there, which pretty much set me up to be able to pursue what I love doing, working with men, and helping to ease the suffering that so many guys are caught in, the cycle of suffering, which I'm very familiar with from things that have happened in my past. And so it's really great to be here and to be doing amazing work with amazing guys, and side by side with the likes of Tim and Doug and all the other people that help us do what we do.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. So some of you might be wondering, where's Doug? This isn't Doug. You loyal fans to Doug. So like we said, we decided to pivot on this episode, bring Arthur on board, because we are just back from another Alpha Reset. I sound a little bit hoarse. I think Arthur does a little bit too. It's quite interesting. The entire team is ill right now. Doug's away ill. I'm recovering. Arthur's recovering too, and some of the volunteers as well from the Brotherhood who were at the Alpha Reset also came down with something as well. But nevertheless, we are here to share with you guys some of the insights that came out of the Alpha Reset, because yet again, it was such a phenomenal experience. Now, every time I come back from these, Amelia always says to me, well, how was it? And every time, I'm like, the best yet. And she's like, but you can't say that every time. Come on, it can't be the best yet every time. But it is. Some way, somehow, it just seems to be, it just gets better every time, whether it's the results for the men. That's always such a huge thing for me, and obviously you, Arthur, which we'll go on through in a minute. Or the ease of it as well, how we're able to navigate some of the guys' journeys and processes. And Arthur and I were chatting before we jumped on here, and you said something brilliant, Arthur. You said, look, we've now seen it with dozens and dozens of men that have been through the Alpha Reset. You get the result. The guys get the result every time. Obviously, we can't guarantee it, but we've not yet seen a guy attend the Alpha Reset, play all out, and not get the result, not break free from his suffering, from his self-imposed prison. And this Alpha Reset, Arthur, what thinking back at the other ones that you've coached at, 'cause I think it's 4 now, isn't it? Is it 4?
Yeah. This was my 4th.
Yeah. Obviously, you've attended one, so that's 5 in total.
Mm-hmm.
How did this one compare for you?
Wow. I think from a coaching perspective, from a leadership perspective, this one felt the most effortless. It felt like we really hit a sweet spot, and the bubble we created for these guys was just perfect. We worked well together. You and I think the energy of the place that we were in, everything just gelled, and so the whole thing came across. This is how I felt. It was just effortless. It was relaxed. It was focused. And, the one process just flew, just flowed into the next. It was really, there was nothing difficult or how can I say, anything stressful about what we did this past weekend. It's important work, it's serious work. We take that very, very, very seriously, and yet the way it flowed was just like how we like to be as powerful men. In the moment, flowing, powerful, but not forcing it. And so I think that was the major difference this time around. I think it's also, it was a product of perhaps like I'm feeling a lot more comfortable being my fourth, and I think as I said, we work really well together, and we had that opportunity now a few times, but I think it was just all of those components coming together.
Yeah, I'd agree. I loved that part on day 3. I don't think you liked this as much, but I loved it. On day 3, we got onto the topic of having more joy in your life. And, I looked outside and it was raining. And, if you listen to this show often, you'll know that one of the things I did recently to get more joy in my life was to go outside and find some puddles and jump in the puddles with my best trainers on. It was a great exercise. I loved it. It really did give me a lot of joy. So anyway, on day 3, as we were talking about joy, and I look outside and it's pouring down with rain, I turn to the guys and say, right, guys, get your trainers on. We're going outside. And one of the guys was like, whoa, these are my best trainers, pointing to his pristine white trainers. And I'm like, yeah, and? They're trainers. Come on, let's get outside. Anyway, 10 minutes later, these guys were just transported back to being 5-6-year-old boys, jumping in puddles, running, laughing, joking, kicking the puddles at one another. The best part, I think you came out just after this, Arthur. Lee, one of the guys from the Brotherhood who was volunteering, he was stood there in between like these 2 or 3 puddles. And the guys must have had a plan. So all the guys ran and jumped in the puddles surrounding Lee at the same time. And literally these puddles went over his head. And the glasses he wearing were just like dripping with this murky puddle water. It's almost like when you've seen those cartoons when they have those windscreen wipers on the glasses. Yeah. He almost needed one of those. But anyway, afterwards when we got back inside, the guys were just sat there, just such a smile on their face, reminiscing about the great time they just had. And the great analogy there was that this guy was giving so much of his joy away to his trainers. And where else was he doing that in his life? Where else was he giving his joy away because of rules he'd put upon himself that really meant nothing? They're just trainers at the end of the day. Yeah, his best white trainers, but he can wash them. He can buy new ones. He can do whatever. He had an experience there that was great, that he loved. And I know going into this one, Arthur, we were a little bit, I'll speak for myself. I'll hear your take in a minute, but I was a bit concerned going into this one because when the guys arrived, they were very in their head. And what I mean by that is, when the guys arrive, often we can see through them, can't we? We can see what's really going on. You can see in their eyes the pain they're in. You can see how they're not really in their body. They're really just in their head, being really analytical and really logical and really reserved and holding back, and the smiles aren't really there or they aren't really real. One guy was just kept, every time he spoke, kept rubbing his forehead or hiding behind his hand. Another guy was really restless and kept fidgeting and barely breathed when he spoke. And so I was a bit concerned thinking, are we going to get the result for these guys? I mean, were you?
And Toby, because I get to work with these guys through the 6-7 weeks before, and you always think like, okay, maybe this guy will have a more difficult journey, and yet when I arrived at the Alpha Reset this time, and it was just like, I know they're going to get a result. I've seen it time and time again that when the guys come and they're playful out as they always do, they always get a result. So yeah, there was 1 or 2 minor concerns, let's call them that. Just that the guys maybe weren't as at that point where I would have preferred to see them at. And yet I had the confidence that the process would work for them as well. And as I've seen it work time and time again.
Yeah, it was great. One of the guys that was there, we kind of ripped the Band-Aid off, didn't we, on the first day? He came into it with these labels of, oh, I'm just anxious. Oh, I've now been diagnosed with ADD, and now it all makes sense. It all makes sense. Well, all my life I've felt this way, and he was taking antidepressants and all sorts, and he's not got ADD. He's not anxious. The reality for this guy was that because for so much of all of his life up until now, he was holding back from saying the things he really wanted to say and, be the man that he wanted to be. He's very successful in his career. He's in the music industry, very successful guy, achieved some really great things. I'm sure you've probably listened to some of the records that he's actually released. There's a lot of number ones there. Yet despite all his achievements, he only ever had a sense of relief that he never failed. And as a result of this, what then happened was when he arrived, like I said, he was barely breathing when he spoke. Can you remember? Like every time he'd speak, he'd then take a short, sharp breath. His shoulders were really high. Mm-hmm. Yet by the end of it, instead of him being sitting down with his legs crossed, arms crossed, fidgeting with his knees shaking, his feet twitching from side to side, his eyes going all over the place, barely breathing, by the end of it, he was sat there, legs open, arms by his side, breathing normally, completely still and calm, with not a morsel of anxiety or ADD or depression in sight. So much so that by the time he left, he actually stopped taking his medication. Now, obviously, disclaimer, we are not doctors. We prescribe things or whatever, but the reality was the anxiety that he was feeling came from him spending so much time living in his head. So much energy and emotion had become almost trapped there. But when he was actually able to release all of these things, all of the emotion and everything that goes with it, he then almost landed in his body. And when he landed, beautiful sight.
Well, not only beautiful, I mean, he changed color. He had this healthy glow around him that you could actually see was different to what he had when he walked in. And of course, he had a smile that he didn't have. And I've seen him since then, and I've seen a couple of pictures he's posted on our work group, and he's just a different man, which is just awesome to see. Really amazing.
Yeah, I've seen those pictures too, and he looks like a completely different guy. And like I say, you guys listening, you may even think this yourself when you look in the mirror and look at yourself, or you come across other people. You can see when there's pain in someone's eyes. It's there. It's blatantly obvious. There's a vacancy that goes with it. And I would say all these guys that arrived had that same vacancy in their eyes. It's almost like the lights were on, but nobody's home. And then, to see these guys now, especially this one amazing man that we're speaking about, he's there. Not only the lights are on, but there's a party going on at home. He is alive, he is aligned, and he is, being the husband, because one of his big drivers coming into the program was that, he just wasn't being the husband that he knew he could be. Addiction and anxiety had taken over his life quite heavily. He'd done some great work coming into the program to alleviate some of that, but he knew, despite he'd done counselling and therapy and all those things, he knew that he needed to go deeper. And, like I said, by the end of it, he was seeing those pictures with him and his wife. Oh my God, just make my heart melt completely.
Yeah. They were amazing. And I mean, just hearing the stories of the guys going back into their lives now. I had a call with them yesterday, and just the stories coming back and how they're facing up to their life and everything. It's just so fulfilling. And it's just, I just laughed for half the call at the antics that they're getting up to and how they're getting, how they are showing up now, and, what they've faced and how they're reacting differently. And how they're noticing things that before they didn't notice. And so just so really excited for what's going to come to them over the next couple of months, even years, because, I mean, they're standing at a point now where the trajectory can change so much, will change so much, as long as they continue on this path.
Yeah, we often say, don't we, how this is, it's just the beginning now. They've done the work over the past 10 weeks to really take off that mask, really let go of that baggage that's been weighing them down. And now they're free from that. They're able to really go on and accelerate and be the man, the husband, the father, the entrepreneur, the son that, that they've always known they could be.
Hey guys, it's time to get real. Do you feel bored, burnt out, or broken? Discover the system that over 300 businessmen are using to let go of the grind, find inner peace, and unlock near unlimited personal power so they can have more time, more intimacy, and better sex while living a life they love without stressing about work or feeling like a fraud. Go over to thepowerfulman.com/freedom right now and discover the insights that you need to get started. All right, let's get back to the episode.
And you said something earlier on, brother, that I absolutely loved. And, you spoke about power versus force. And that's the thing with these guys. By the end of day 2, once they've gone through all of the processes we lead them through, the best word that I would use to describe how these guys are feeling would be effortless. There's such a serene sense of peace that comes across these guys as they sat there in the chair or wherever they sat in the room by the end of day 2 that, nothing is even touching them. Nothing is knocking them off that. And it was Nick, I think, was it, who arrived back home and arrived home late, and he was supposed to have a night with his wife. I think the grandparents were supposed to have his young baby daughter.
Yep.
They couldn't. Yeah. And didn't he say that in the past, that would have just flipped him out into a rage of anger? And his wife was quite scared whether to tell him or not. Well, she was apprehensive to tell him. And when she did, how he responded. What did he say again?
It's no problem. I think it was something along the lines, I still get time to spend with you and the kids and everything, and so it's fine. And we'll organize something else another time, which is I think from what I understand, not his typical response to a change of plans like that. And so it's just amazing how these guys are rolling into their lives now. And I just want to mention, just going back to jumping in the puddles, Tim. It was one of the guys, took out his kids, and I think it was raining, and said, "Come on, we're going outside, and we're going to jump in puddles." And most of them did, I think, but his daughter really had a problem with jumping the puddles. She really didn't want to, and it was quite scary how our rules transcend to our kids. Of course, it would, and how scared she was of actually just letting go and jumping the puddles. No, there's a good ending. He didn't force her. Once again, power, force. He didn't force her. He just acknowledged her fear in that moment and said, "Okay, well, let's take the bike and we cycled through the puddles," which she was completely cool with. And so they went cycling through the puddles. At which point she thought, "Okay, now I'm ready to jump in the puddles." All right, and then she went for it and jumped in the puddles. So what's great about all of this is that it's not just us. Of course, it's not just us. These guys are now rippling into their family life, into their with their partners, with their kids, with their co-workers, and their trajectory is impacting. And what did they say? We impact how many people? I can't remember what the number, but it's multiples of people. And now they get to take this power of theirs, connected to their hearts, of course. Not dominating, not controlling, not forcing, but this powerful man, this heart-centered man going out there and just taking the world on, from an inspired place. It's just awesome to behold.
Yeah, it is. I saw that video too, and it was scary how afraid at first his daughter was. I think she said, "Oh, no, I'm going to dirty my trainers," or "I'm going to get muddy," or basically something along the lines of, I shouldn't do that because it's bad, or I don't want to be bad, or whatever. But then to see her on the flip side, she started running through the puddles and then skipping through them, then jumping with both feet, going through here. And it was great to see her open up. It really was. And that same man, I spoke with him today, actually, Arthur. And he then went on to business and said how they've made some huge decisions in business since he's got back, because now he's more relaxed and he's more in tune with himself, so he can be more inspired, and he's got the energy and presence to then make those decisions. And it's often decisions that, like you said, massively change the trajectory.
Exactly. Yeah. And, if the guys listening on you might be thinking, man, that just sounds like a million miles away, but it's not. It's so close, guys. It's so close. You just have to take that first step, and make that call. And all of these guys in the beginning were like, oh, can't do this, can't do that, can't do that. And now they're doing it. And it wasn't by working harder. It wasn't about, by doing more. It was just by following the process, allowing themselves to be coached. And, for the most part, it was about being effortless. A lot of the guys are doing less and getting a lot more done, which is crazy to say it, and it's like probably the opposite of what you expect or what you've been told, but it's the truth. And any one of them will say so, So it's really just there for the taking.
It really is. It's the journey from the head to the heart, right? It's the 6 inches that make all the difference in your life. It's the greatest journey you'll ever make. Yet one that is so often so overlooked as well. And I think another point worth mentioning is, so often these guys have invested into business coaching. One of the guys was speaking about this. He invested tens of thousands into business coaching, thinking that, the way for him to make money was to invest in the business coaching, so he could then set up the systems and the sales and the marketing, so he can then make money, and then he could buy the house for his family, and then he would be a good husband. But the trouble with that formula is that for as long as he chooses to invest in the external, he misses himself out, and that point of him then becoming a good husband or a good father or feeling proud of himself never arrives, because it's external on a condition outside of himself. Versus on something that he truly feels and sees in himself. So for a lot of these guys, it's actually the first exploration into any kind of coaching or development as well, which I think is really commendable for these men, because, what we do is it produces a result time and time again, and it requires the men to really go deep within themselves. It truly does. And, obviously the rewards are worth it. Clearly, we could stand here, couldn't we? We could list a whole host of awards, from Omar landing his 6-figure deal to the same people that he presented to the year before, to marriages being turned around, to people having wild sex in the garden with the neighbours overlooking and not caring, to all sorts.
Yeah. To guys taking time off that they never thought at the beginning of the program was remotely possible. It's just like result after result of result. And guys, once again, you are required to go deep, but we show you how to do it. It's not like, oh, how do I do that? I've got no idea, or whatever. We have the processes that lead you there step by step by step by step. And so you just need to pitch. You really don't need to be in any specific position, know anything specifically, have any ideas of how to get there or do whatever. It's just get there, arrive and let us help you do the work.
Yeah, I love it. And, there's the way we open the Alpha Reset, we tell the guys that the way to win the war isn't to fight. That just takes you further into battle. The way to win this war is to surrender. Because when you surrender, that's where you really open yourself up. And that's when you're able to let go of all the shame you've been carrying. You're able to let go of all that anger that's been building up inside. All of that sadness you're trying to push down and pretend that isn't there. But it's all of those things that are just keeping you numb and robbing you of all the riches that life is trying to give you, or maybe that you even already have. But it's just not landing. So to have a space in which you can let go of all those things without judgment, I think that's one of the things the guys commented on that they really loved, was the fact that they could show up in this space and they just weren't judged at all. It was pure, unconditional love, and a space in which they were then able to feel safe, to open up and say those things that they've been ashamed of saying, or share the anger that they've been pushing down, or, I could go on, just basically be seen. First time in their life, literally. be seen for the man that they are for the first time in their life. And it's profound. It really is. It's a gift. I'm so grateful to be involved with it.
And I think just going back to what you said about the surrendering, I think some guys sometimes have a problem with that word, surrender. And it's not like the surrender of giving up. Yeah. Handing over your arms as in the war scene or battle scene. It's really just opening yourself up to the possibilities of something more. It's revealing more of yourself to the process, to a proven process. And that makes all the difference. It's the not fighting anymore. It's the letting go. It's the letting go. And I think for so many guys that just haven't had the opportunity, they haven't had the structure, they haven't had the brotherhood around them to allow themselves just to let go and stop fighting. And when they do find it, as they do within our groups and within the Alpha Reset, when they find that, it's just the safest, most powerful place that they can just let go. And as you say, without judgment, because we've all done shit and we've all been through it. And so we understand. And it's not a place where we're going to be pointing fingers or anything. We respect every person's journey. And that journey is so important to that person, and so important to us. And so, it's one of the safest place on the planet.
It truly is. And, I think Einstein said it best when he said, a problem cannot be solved at the same level of thinking that created it. And if you're listening to this now and, this is resonating with you, you're in a business and you struggle to balance the pressures of business and home life, and you end up going home and, you end up arguing with your wife, or if you feel this anger that's welling up inside and you snap at the kids, and then you feel guilty and ashamed and you start to find yourself in the 5 agonies, as we've spoken about in the past, then, it's clear that you cannot continue to do what you were doing and expect a different result. You cannot continue to apply more pressure and to work harder and to push more, because that's just going to give you more of what you've already got, because you've tried that and that's got you into that position. So it really is time for you to try something different, to pivot, and really embrace that concept of surrender. It doesn't mean weakness. It doesn't mean inaction. It's quite the opposite, in fact. Surrender is strength, and you're going to then follow your inspiration and take the action that will give you the biggest results. It's always the case. And, the Alpha Reset is just another one of those opportunities and spaces in which, you're really able to surrender to yourself, turn the darkness into light and go into those spaces that you've been avoiding, because it's in liberating yourself by going into there that you really experience the biggest freedom of all, and that's the freedom to be yourself. And it's an absolute blessing, and it's also the way in which you were designed to walk this planet. You were not designed and put on this planet to struggle. That's just a fallacy. You really were not. So any kind words, Arthur, to our lovely listeners here?
Yeah, guys, you really deserve to find a way to enjoy your life, to have fun, to do it the easy way, as Tim says. And life is full of challenges, sure, but there is a better way to do things. There is a better way to stop the struggle, to stop the hustling, to stop the being so busy that you can't see the wood for the trees or the tree for the woods. There is a better way. And, it's just a call away. It's just a call away. Having done this process, having done other personal development stuff, programs, and for many years, I can tell you this is one of the most powerful things I ever had the good fortune to do. And so, guys, please don't delay any longer. Make that call. You have got nothing to lose, really. Make that first call.
Yeah, so guys, head over to thepowerfulman.com/freedom. You can check out some of the case studies from other men on there as well. And if that resonates with you, then go ahead, click the Clarity Call button and book in, and you'll actually have the good fortune of speaking to myself. There's my token cough for the episode. Like I said, at the beginning, I'm a little bit under the weather. But guys, yeah, seriously, whether you're a woman watching and you listening to this on behalf of the man in your life, then please, we implore you guys, or even the women, make sure the men in your life just become the powerful men they were born to be. It's time. It's time for these men, for all the men, to remember how great they really are. Suicide is the biggest killer of men today, and it's an absolute tragedy. It really is. It's an absolute tragedy. It just does not need to be that way. And, there is a solution.
Yeah.
So head over to thepowerfulman.com/freedom. So Arthur, I've loved this. Your first podcast episode.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been good.
Yeah, I've loved it. So thank you so much for being on, and let's get you on in the future for sure. Who knows? Maybe I'll be able to accost you right now to do another. So if you hear Arthur's voice on the next one, I've been able to do that. If not, he's fed me some lies. But, it's all good.
It's all good. Well, thank you, Tim. It's been great.
You're welcome, brother.
Yeah, and guys, all the best to all the listeners.
Well, that's it, guys. Until the next time, thank you for listening to The Powerful Man Show.